King Gentius, known as the last ruler of an independent Illyrian kingdom, took the throne during a period of escalating tension in the Balkans. As Rome expanded its influence throughout the Mediterranean, Illyria found itself caught in a complex struggle for sovereignty. Gentius, son of King Pleuratus II, inherited a kingdom under pressure but also full of potential. Unlike his predecessors, Gentius was ambitious, seeking not just to maintain Illyrian autonomy, but to restore and expand Illyrian influence along the Adriatic coast. He aimed to strengthen Illyria through unification and military reform, focusing on reclaiming territories that Rome had taken under its control. Gentius envisioned a unified Illyria capable of resisting Rome's advances, a significant challenge given Rome's growing power and influence in the region. He sought to build alliances with neighboring tribes, like the Dardanians and Thracians, to strengthen Illyria's defenses. However, his rule was complicated by internal divisions among Illyrian tribes, each with its own priorities and interests. Gentius believed he could achieve a more cohesive Illyrian state if he established a centralized rule, emphasizing loyalty and a shared national identity. Under Gentius, Illyria underwent significant military improvements. He expanded the navy, understanding that Illyrian control over the Adriatic Sea was essential to resist Roman incursions. His reforms attracted talented generals and warriors, creating an army known for its resilience and skill in guerrilla warfare. These strategies aimed to utilize Illyria's natural mountainous terrain, making it difficult for large Roman forces to penetrate the heart of the kingdom. The combination of a strong navy and well-trained land forces gave Gentius hope that he could sustain Illyrian independence. Despite his ambitions, Gentius faced significant challenges from within. Some tribal leaders resisted his call for unity, fearing the loss of their own autonomy. Furthermore, Gentius's relationship with Rome was already tense, as Illyria's support for piracy along the Adriatic had long frustrated Roman merchants and officials. Gentius saw piracy as a means of asserting control over regional trade routes, while Rome considered it an intolerable threat. This clash of interests set the stage for a larger confrontation between Illyria and Rome. Gentius's rise to power came at a time when Rome was extending its influence into the Balkan region, bringing increasing pressure on Illyrian autonomy. Rome had previously engaged in conflicts with Illyrian rulers, imposing restrictions and demanding tribute. These demands were a constant source of resentment among the Illyrian people, who valued their independence. Gentius was determined to resist these pressures, and his policies often reflected a defiant stance against Rome's authority. He aimed to reverse Roman gains and restore Illyrian control over the Adriatic. One of the key points of contention was Illyrian piracy. Illyrian pirates had long patrolled the Adriatic, disrupting Roman trade and asserting control over maritime routes. Rome saw this as a threat to its commercial interests and as a destabilizing force in the region. Gentius, however, viewed piracy as a legitimate means of resistance against Roman expansion. He encouraged and even sponsored raids along the Adriatic, believing that control of the sea was essential for Illyrian independence. His support for piracy intensified tensions with Rome, which considered it an act of aggression. Gentius's defiance of Rome extended beyond piracy. He refused to pay the tributes imposed by earlier treaties, claiming that Illyria owed nothing to the Roman Republic. This decision was a bold assertion of sovereignty, but also a calculated risk, as it directly challenged Rome's authority. Gentius believed that by demonstrating Illyria's strength, he could force Rome into a position of negotiation rather than domination. However, this strategy underestimated Rome's determination to expand its influence and its willingness to use military force. Despite the mounting tension, Gentius sought alliances to counterbalance Rome's power. He reached out to the Macedonian king, Perseus, who was also in conflict with Rome, hoping to form a united front. However, Rome's influence had already penetrated much of the region, limiting Gentius's options for allies. His alliance with Perseus, though valuable, would ultimately prove insufficient to resist the might of the Roman Republic. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of Illyria. As Gentius prepared for an inevitable clash with Rome, he sought support from Macedonia, which was also engaged in its struggle against Roman influence. King Perseus of Macedonia shared Gentius's concerns about Roman expansion and was willing to form an alliance. Together, they hoped to consolidate their resources and resist Roman incursions more effectively. This alliance was both a strategic necessity and a bold stand against the growing might of the Roman Republic. Gentius believed that with Macedonia's support, Illyria could successfully resist Roman domination. The alliance between Illyria and Macedonia symbolized a significant threat to Roman interests in the Balkans. Rome saw this partnership as a dangerous coalition that could destabilize its control over the region. In response, the Roman Senate began preparing for military action, determined to quash any resistance before it could gain momentum. Gentius understood that Rome's military strength far exceeded Illyria's, but he hoped that his alliance with Perseus would provide the additional manpower and resources needed for Gentius, the alliance was also a way to strengthen his own position within Illyria. By aligning with Macedonia, he hoped to gain the support of Illyrian tribes that were hesitant to resist Rome. He argued that an alliance with a powerful neighbor would increase their chances of success, and that unity was essential in the face of Roman aggression. Some tribes agreed, while others remained skeptical, fearing that the alliance might lead to greater conflict without guaranteeing victory. Nonetheless, Gentius pushed forward, determined to secure Illyrian sovereignty. The Illyrian-Macedonian alliance proved to be a catalyst for Rome's decision to launch a full-scale invasion. The Roman Senate declared war on Gentius and Perseus, viewing their partnership as a direct challenge to Roman authority. Gentius found himself on the defensive, facing a well-organized Roman army that was better equipped and experienced. This marked the beginning of a desperate struggle for Illyrian independence, as Gentius prepared his forces for a confrontation that would shape the future of his kingdom. Rome's response to Gentius's alliance with Macedonia was swift and decisive. In 168 BCE, the Roman general Lucius Anicius Gallus led a powerful army into Illyrian territory, intent on crushing Gentius's forces and ending the threat of a unified Illyrian-Macedonian resistance. The Roman invasion was meticulously planned, with legions well prepared to face the rugged terrain and resist Illyrian guerrilla tactics. Gentius's forces, though skilled and loyal, faced a formidable opponent that had refined its military tactics over decades of conquest. The Illyrians fought valiantly against the invading Roman forces, utilizing their knowledge of the land to launch ambushes and harass the advancing legions. Gentius's soldiers were well trained in guerrilla warfare, a style of combat that allowed them to leverage their mountainous terrain against the heavily armored Roman soldiers. However, despite their courage, the Illyrians struggled against Rome's sheer numbers and advanced military organization. The Romans countered the Illyrian attacks with strategic formations, maintaining their momentum as they pushed deeper into Illyrian territory. Gentius attempted to rally his troops, emphasizing the importance of defending their homeland and resisting Roman occupation. He encouraged his men to stand firm, reminding them of Illyria's long history of independence. However, the relentless Roman advance took a toll on Illyrian morale. As the battle continued, it became clear that the Illyrians were outmatched. Despite their resilience, they began to lose ground, retreating under the pressure of Rome's disciplined and well-supplied legions. The Roman invasion marked a turning point in Illyrian history, as Gentius's forces faced near constant pressure from a determined enemy. The Illyrians continued to fight, holding out hope that their alliance with Macedonia might bring reinforcements. Yet Perseus of Macedonia faced his own struggles against Rome, leaving Gentius largely isolated. The Illyrian people bore the brunt of the conflict, as villages and towns fell to Roman occupation. Despite his best efforts, Gentius faced a grim reality: Illyria's independence was slipping away. As the Roman legions advanced through Illyria, Gentius retreated to the fortified city of Scadra, the heart of his kingdom and a bastion of Illyrian resilience. Scadra, surrounded by mountains and rivers, provided natural defenses that made it difficult for enemies to penetrate. Gentius gathered his remaining forces within its walls, hoping the city's strategic location would give him an advantage against the advancing Romans. Here, he planned to make his last stand, determined to defend his kingdom's sovereignty until the end. The siege of Scadra was intense and grueling. Roman forces surrounded the city, cutting off supply routes in an attempt to starve Gentius and his people into submission. Gentius's soldiers were undeterred, launching daring sorties to disrupt the Roman lines and gather supplies. The people of Scadra, loyal to their king, endured the hardships alongside the soldiers, reinforcing the walls and rationing resources to extend their resistance. This unity symbolized the spirit of Illyrian independence and their defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. Roman general Lucius Anicius Gallus employed various siege tactics to breach Scadra's defenses, but Gentius's forces were resourceful and resilient. They defended the city with determination, repelling several Roman attempts to storm the walls. However, as the siege wore on, Scadra's supplies dwindled and morale began to waver. Gentius encouraged his people to remain steadfast, reminding them of their duty to preserve their homeland and protect their way of life from foreign domination. Despite the bravery of Scadra's defenders, the city's situation grew increasingly desperate. With no reinforcements from his Macedonian allies, Gentius knew that his chances of victory were slim. He faced an agonizing choice: continue the fight, risking the lives of his people, or consider surrender to save them from further suffering. This decision weighed heavily on Gentius, who had devoted his life to the defense of Illyrian independence. In the end, he chose to negotiate with the Romans, hoping to secure fair terms for his people. After enduring a lengthy siege, Gentius finally surrendered to the Romans in 168 BCE, marking the end of Illyrian independence. The fall of Scadra was a tragic moment for Illyria, as it symbolized the end of an era of sovereign rule. Gentius's capture marked the conclusion of the Illyrian struggle against Rome, and the kingdom was absorbed into the expanding Roman Republic. With this defeat, Illyria's cultural and political autonomy would be reshaped under Roman authority. The Romans took Gentius as a prisoner, sending him and his family to Rome as captives. This act was intended as both a humiliation and a warning to other tribes that might resist Roman rule. Gentius was paraded in Rome as a defeated king, illustrating the power of the Republic over those who dared oppose it. For the Illyrians, the loss of their king was a profound blow, symbolizing the end of their cherished independence and the onset of a new era under Roman rule. Despite his defeat, Gentius remained a symbol of Illyrian pride and resilience. The stories of his resistance against Rome persisted among the Illyrian people, inspiring later generations to remember their history and cultural identity. Though Rome would control Illyria for centuries, the memory of Gentius and his defiance continued to shape Illyrian identity, as he was remembered as a leader who fought valiantly for his people's freedom. The fall of Illyria marked a significant expansion of Roman influence in the Balkans. With Illyria under control, Rome gained access to new resources, including valuable mineral deposits and strategic coastal territories. The incorporation of Illyria into the Republic solidified Rome's hold over the Adriatic and set the stage for further expansion into the east. Though Gentius's defeat marked the end of Illyrian independence, his legacy lived on, a reminder of a proud people who once resisted the might of Rome. Following Gentius's defeat, the process of Romanization began in Illyria, transforming the region culturally, politically, and economically. The Romans introduced their system of governance, establishing provinces and appointing governors to oversee the region. Roman law replaced traditional Illyrian legal practices, and Latin became the dominant language in administrative and public life. Over time, these changes reshaped Illyrian society as Roman customs and values were adopted alongside traditional practices. The Romans invested in infrastructure within Illyria, building roads, aqueducts, and cities that integrated the region into the broader Roman economy. This development brought economic growth to Illyria as new trade routes and agricultural practices were introduced. Illyrians began to serve in the Roman legions, gaining prestige and citizenship through military service. Many Illyrians embraced these opportunities, achieving prominent positions within the Roman Empire and contributing to its administration and military. Despite these changes, the Illyrians maintained elements of their cultural identity. Traditional Illyrian festivals and religious practices continued alongside Roman customs, creating a unique blend of cultures. The Illyrians' martial traditions were respected by the Romans, and Illyrian soldiers gained a reputation for their bravery and skill. This cultural resilience ensured that, although Illyria was now a part of the Roman world, its distinct heritage remained influential in the lives of its people. The Romanization of Illyria was a complex process, involving both assimilation and resistance. While some Illyrians adopted Roman ways eagerly, others resisted, longing for the independence they had once known. The memory of King Gentius and the struggle for Illyrian sovereignty lingered, becoming part of Illyria's cultural consciousness. Under Roman rule, Illyria became a significant region within the empire, contributing to its military, economy, and cultural diversity. Though defeated, King Gentius's legacy endured, leaving an indelible mark on Illyrian identity. His story was passed down through generations, symbolizing the courage and resilience of the Illyrian people. As the last king to defend Illyrian sovereignty, Gentius became a figure of national pride, inspiring future leaders and warriors. His resistance against Rome, though ultimately unsuccessful, remained a powerful reminder of Illyria's desire for independence and the strength of its people. Illyrian identity evolved under Roman rule, shaped by both the memories of past independence and the realities of life within the empire. Many Illyrians retained pride in their heritage, preserving traditions and stories that celebrated their distinct culture. The memory of King Gentius became a symbol of Illyrian strength and defiance, embodying the spirit of a people who valued their freedom. For centuries, Gentius's story continued to inspire those who sought to honor Illyria's past. In later periods, as the Balkans underwent further changes, the story of King Gentius and Illyrian independence became a source of inspiration for new generations. Nationalistic movements looked to Illyria's history, seeing in Gentius's struggle a symbol of resistance and identity. The Illyrians' legacy influenced cultural and historical narratives, reminding the people of their ancient roots and the significance of their past. King Gentius's story is a testament to the enduring legacy of leaders who fight for their people's freedom. His final stand against Rome serves as a poignant reminder of the costs of independence and the resilience of a culture under foreign rule. Though Rome ultimately triumphed, the spirit of Illyria, embodied by Gentius, lived on, shaping the identity of a proud people whose heritage continues to echo through history.